I'm good on my end.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Red Road Paranormal. My name is Christina Bloom. I am a spiritual advisor and a paranormal investigator. I'm also an author and have had two radio shows that you can find older shows on, listen to on YouTube under WLTKDB. And I am here with my friend Bobby Resnick Calkins. We are co-hosts of this show. I'm also an Alaskan native descendant, so that's where I fit into the Red Road Paranormal. Take it away, Rez.
Hey, I'm Resnick. Enrolled member of Stockbridge Muncie Tribe, paranormal investigator, cryptid investigator with Cryptids Anonymous in the Paranormal Society. And we're here to introduce two good friends of mine, Mr. Shawn Stevens and Mr. Brandon Cooper. Take it away, guys.
Hey, Quell Goldman, greet you all. My name is Shawn Stevens. I'm from the Stockbridge Muncie Band of Mohicans also. My brother there, Resnick. I am the chairperson of our Cultural Language and Culture Committee, as well as the co-chair of our Historical Repatriation Committee. I am a ceremonial leader. I am an artist, musician, historian, storyteller. I really should have wrote all this down beforehand.
I was thinking that too. As you're talking, I'm remembering stuff I should have said.
Been a lifelong interest of the paranormal and paranormal activities and such, and a lifelong student of everything. I say greetings.
Thanks, Shawn. Brandon?
Oh, it's me.
It's
my
you.
turn. Osayo Kanale. Gagayu. Hello, friends. My name is Brandon Cooper. I've been doing medicine healing for about 30 years. I'm with the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Nation. Doing paranormal for like 25, 26 years. And I'm really interested. Like, this is a cool panel of people. Like, the energy is like really relaxing and nice for my hectic day that I've had so far. This is kind of nice. So I'm looking forward to
it. Glad we can bring that to you.
Yeah, thank you. I needed it today.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're all pretty calm, pretty chill here. We like to, kind of just go with the flow.
Right.
I like it.
Right. So I'm going to interrupt that flow because I'm super excited about this topic. Sasquatch. Bigfoot.
Nantino. Zitanga.
Yes, I'm super excited about this topic. And honestly, because I have had a Bigfoot spirit guide. I've had a Sasquatch spirit guide my whole life, and have been told by my spirit team that people who have been through very difficult, very physically dangerous things get Sasquatch spirit guides because they're protectors and they keep us alive.
Makes a lot of sense. Hence why a certain close friend of mine had seen one as one of my guides.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So, Brandon, I understand that you are the guy to talk to about Bigfoot.
I mean, maybe I've seen one or two or three. So I guess I should preface what I'm saying by, so growing up on the res, it's kind of, you grow up knowing that they're real because the elders like talk, and you're told don't go that part of the woods. That's where Hairy Man lives, and it's just okay, sure. Like, I believe I've seen them, especially around our ceremonial dance lands. And it's not like, and you don't see them full on. You'll catch a glimpse, or you'll hear them, or you'll definitely feel their energy. Um, but yeah, Harry Man. I mean, he's been around the East Coast here ever since we started our written language. And that's one thing that almost all the First Nation tribes share is a hairy man. And it wasn't until I would say that the colonization started happening that we started hearing that the hairy man was evil. He was bad. He's our protector. I mean, that was the whole point in the stories and the origin stories that I've heard. Is the hairy man was put here to protect us, and they only kind of come around when there's a huge change in Mother Nature, or like that they're just the protectors. So I come from a different view of I've always believed in them, and I'm sure that Bobby and Shawn can corroborate that. It's just it is what it is. They're real. The little people are real. We don't we believe, or at least in my culture. So yeah, I've seen a few. I've ran into them. I have had assistance when doing medicine and doctoring and healing from uh, the hairy man. So yeah, it's always been a positive for me, and I 100% believe.
Awesome. Shawn, I'd love to hear your take on this. I'd love to hear what your experiences are with Bigfoot. You're muted.
Gotta unmute yourself.
Sorry, I did that so I could cough a couple times.
It's okay.
Well, yeah, I agree, with everything I've heard. Starting like from where we live. I mean, well, when you look on a map of sightings of Bigfoot, they're everywhere. Or maybe more way of saying maybe Sasquatch. I hate saying Bigfoot because it kind of makes it sound like it's one
Mm-hmm.
entity, one being out there when there's many. We should be calling Big Feet, if anything.
Yeah, right.
Kind of like an English nerd that way.
Right there
But
with you, buddy.
I've liked the Alaskan name of Nantinook. I just love the way it rolls off your tongue.
mhm. But yeah, I heard the same. They are protectors. They're protectors of the forest. They're protectors of children. And I've also heard many stories of uh, elders telling children not to go off and play, in the woods. The worry of hairy man, or the big hairy man of the forest, might take them and such. But I had a really interesting conversation. Well, I had many interesting conversations with several people with our reservation who've actually spotted them. I had an experience myself to where I'm out on this little secluded pond. I'm out there fishing, having a good time, and just really getting down, being in nature. And then right up, probably about 10 feet off the bow of my rowboat, there was this huge splash. It was like, oh, whoosh, and this water just sprayed way up into the air. And it kind of freaked me out. I'm like, holy crap, what was that? And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, probably maybe it was a beaver or something, and but I'm thinking about it, it's like, but I don't think a beaver hitting its tail on the water would cause water to splash that far up. All of us like sat on, by a bridge throwing rocks and stuff in the water. And you know how the sound when a big rock hits the water besides, a smaller rock or something, there's the depth and the deepness of the sound it makes. And from my perspective, it was like, I think the only way that something could make that noise, a rock, something hit the water that was thrown from far away. So I got mad thinking maybe somebody was on the shores or something throwing big rocks at me or something or whatever or something, but I put it out of my mind real quick. Went back to fishing, and I kind of floated down, a little bit from the pond, a bigger pond area, and it happened again, in almost the same position right off the bow of my boat. And I was like, whoa, what the heck is that? And I got to really thinking, because I was thinking it's probably somebody throwing stones, but I got to thinking to myself, wait a minute, as far as I am out in this lake, I don't care if you're a world champion shot put thrower, there's no way you could throw a stone or something that heavy that far from the shore and hit right off the side of my boat. And then I started getting, kind of weird, weirded out about it. And I paddled off, got my boat out, and I left. And I remember seeing something, and it was just only a few weeks later, about some series about chasing Bigfoot or something like that. And another man, I think it was another native, had like the same story, out in a boat, and something was throwing stones out there to try to like chase him off. Wasn't trying to hit him, and I don't think it was trying to hit me either. Something was trying to like get me out of there, because they had some business there to do or whatever. Could have hurt me if they wanted to, but didn't, just chased me out of there, and I left. It worked. Um, so I got things like, wow, I think that's the only thing that makes sense, really. And I started talking with some other people on the reservation, and I've heard many people. My nephew went behind his home, where there's a place called Leak Hill, and what they call leaks on the reservation are actually ramps, where a lot of ramps grow, wild onions and such. And he said he saw one, saw it back walking up that hill when he got home from school. And I know my nephew, he's not the kind kid to tell tall stories or anything. He was telling me the truth, that he saw some big hairy animal. He said, and it did not walk like a bear walking on its hind legs either. It was walking like a man, right, walking with his arms swinging, in the same gait a man would walk. Um, my cousin Brian Jacobs, had a conversation with him. He told me when he was younger that he's at his home, and they and the reservation is mainly wooded area. We're a community that lives in the woods, basically. And he said that his dad's friend came over, and he said his dad's friend, was like this big, strong, tough guy. He always knew his whole life and everything. Said, but this guy was crying like a baby because he said he was in the woods and he saw a gigantic, hairy man in the woods. And he's like, yeah, if he was like making, a story up or whatever, he's not that good of an actor that he could cry like a frightened little child, and he's like, that kind of scared me, and stuff. And he said his dad tried to tell him later that, oh, he was just drinking or something, so he wouldn't like be worried about it, another friend of mine. And I was telling, we're having conversations about paranormal things and started talking about Bigfoot. And I was telling him about one of my situations and other people's situations that happened. And he's like, I've got a story. He's like, down river, no, one of them real back roads where, it's all still gravel road, mixed road, I think it was called. So, out in the middle, it's just starting to get dark and his car, started acting up on him. So we had to get out of the car, lift the hood. He's out there underneath the car trying to figure out what's going on. And then all of a sudden he said he heard something shaking, in the tree line. And he happened to look in the tree line and he could see that there was this, it looked like it was like this big animal. He said it was all silhouetted, but it was like this big animal sitting in the tree, and then like shaking the tree back and forth. And like he said, I could tell it was staring at me, and then I realized I could tell about the real nasty, rancid smell it had and everything. At first, I thought it was a bear. He said, but by looking at the outline, he's like, it was no bear, and it was up in that tree, like shaking back and forth, like just trying to get my attention. He's like, I ran home. He said I would not go back there the next day. I said I wouldn't. He said did not go back there till the next morning when my dad brought me and I made him bring a gun because I was so afraid. He said, but he's like, I never told anybody that story until we were talking now because I thought everybody think I was freaking crazy, But now to listen to somebody who's actually open, he's like, I never told that story. He said, it feels good to tell a story. He said, but yeah, they're out there, they're real, you know. And so talking to another friend who's part Menominee, part Stockbridge. He's also a man I learned do a lot of medicines from, a very spiritual man. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, I do ceremonies in the woods. He said, they come up. He said, some have even come up to my sweat lodge. They come to my sweat lodge. He said, they're part of my helpers. And he's a guy ain't going to bullshit you either. I mean, we got people like to tell stories, but he's not going to tell a story like that, especially when it comes to doing ceremonies and such. He's like, they're ceremony helpers. He said that they're interdimensional beings is what they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I agree.
I agree too. That's why you don't get clear
that,
pictures of them. They're coming and going from other dimensions.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's such a high vibration to them. I don't think we could ever catch a clear picture, even if they were just chilling there.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that sometimes, that some people might even have a very close Sasquatch encounter. He said, but they have a way of making you forget you've seen them.
Yep.
So that's why you only get some people only get the glimpses, from far off. But if you lock eyes with them, they have a way of making you forget. And that's just a way of protecting themselves. And that they can move through, from walking or whatever, but they can also change into orbs of light.
Mm-hmm.
We see them a lot in the woods, these orbs that fly around. And there's an intelligence to them. It's not swamp gas or anything just floating around like that. There is something very intelligent. It's not a mini UFO, but it's something, out there. And he said that's why sometimes, like in the wintertime, you won't see their tracks even. It's either they've gone through that interdimensional doorway. Could be maybe. I always thought maybe they're hibernating. I don't know, or traveling on to other places. But he said they're interdimensional beings, and they have a way of protecting. They protect the forest. He said that you won't find a more gentler creature out there than these hairy people of the forest, or whatever the Menominee word for it. He said you probably get more accosted by a rabbit than these things. And they're very gently. It's like they're not hurting anybody. You leave them alone. And I've heard of that they were a protector of children. I believe there was a shooting up in Red Lake Reservation there, and when that shooting happened, they were starting to have a lot of the Bigfoot sightings and such. Because they were coming and worrying about them protecting the children as well. And so many of the stories that my little, incident, okay, but then when I'm talking with these other people that I knew wouldn't lie to me, and they had these stories, especially my medicine mentor, was telling me these things that they come to his lodge. They come out when he's in the woods doing his ceremonies. And he said those stories go back for longer before even the white man came. He said they've always been. It's been a part of their ways, the Menominee ways and culture. And like I said, nobody started talking about them being bad until the settlers had come, and viewed them as probably something evil or even evil myth or whatever, and so that's why like a lot of the Native American tribes won't let like shows like the Bigfoot Hunter and stuff come on, and they don't want them messing with them. It's like, no, you leave them alone. No, you're not coming to go do this, and they're that's like, why would you want to do that? You want proof, well, we know they're there. You can listen to our stories and stuff, but we don't want you out there chasing around or bringing, other people the idea that they could come up here and shoot one or anything like that. So the tribes won't let them things happen. They say, leave them alone. They're not bothering anybody. We don't bother them either.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said. Like, you were saying that they were throwing rocks at you to get you to where, apparently they had business there. And I've been out in the woods, and I've also been told, like, when you go out there with a pure spirit, they know. And I've had rocks thrown at my tent site, and I was told to move, and I was led to a place to set up. Like, once the rocks stopped, I was like, all right, I'm gonna set up here. So they moved me to where they thought I needed to be because I was out there for a vision class. And man, did like the energy of right there where they put me was amazing. They know what they're
Nice.
doing. They're
Mhm.
super intelligent. And I
Yep.
think that the reason that when the white man came, uh, especially around here, is for the Trail of Tears. They would take the children from the mothers and beat their heads against the trees and stuff, and they were killing children to make the four tribes from here do the Trail of Tears. Well, that's when it really started kicking up. They are protector of children and of people that are pure spirit. So that's why I think the whole Bigfoot is evil or Bigfoot is dangerous came, because they were screwing up. Well, of course, Bigfoots can come in if you're
Yeah.
stripping a mother and a child and taking that child and beating their head against a tree to kill them. Of course, they're going to show up, and they're not mean or evil. They're giving you what you're giving them.
Yep.
I think that really needs to be said. All this, be afraid of a Bigfoot in the woods, or if you're doing the right thing, they ain't gonna bother you, and you're not gonna bother
Right.
them.
Oh yeah. I go out with my team all the time, quote unquote squatching.
Yeah.
Go out looking. And every time I go out, I lay my tobacco down. I have the intent that I would like to have interaction with them. And I go with a pure heart.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's out there. Or they're out there, let's say. And I don't need the video footage to prove it, but I think it'd be cool to have.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, I go out there and when I'm talking in the woods, it's like, hey, I'm asking for my big hairy brother to come by or my big furry brother, depends on what mood I'm in that day.
Yep.
I'm like, come interact with me, and I explain that who I'm with, who they are, that they're not here to harm, you know.
I
Well,
have to,
and
yeah. I was going to
there's
say, as
go
a
ahead.
woman, I feel safer walking in the woods at night than I do walking in town at night, because I know
Yeah.
that the most dangerous animal on this planet is humans, right? So, and having grown up just outside of Lac du Flambeau, in northern Wisconsin, I never was afraid of the animals. I've never felt like I was going to be attacked by the animals because I always knew that I had my protector with me and that I had my Sasquatch protector with me and that he was always going to be with me. And I feel like he's still with me. I'm always well protected. I travel alone. I always feel safe. I'm always well protected. And I feel like he's still with me. And if anyone ever did come towards me, there's a big old hairy arm that just reaches in between and pushes that away from me. And I know because I've seen the arm. I've seen the arm, but I've not seen like the whole Sasquatch. I just see the
Right.
arm reaching in to protect me and pushing away whatever it is that might want to harm me.
And also to piggyback on what Shawn said, when we do our sweats, uh, there's been several times when the hairy man shows up, along with we've had the little people show up. It all has to do with your spirituality and intention. And if it's pure, these creatures are going to come up. I say creatures. I'm the human. The human being is a creature as well. So I'm not saying creature as big scary thing or whatever, but
Yeah.
these pure, they look for that, they feel that they can. I have an opinion that, okay, the human brain has the split in the middle, right? So we're only working with a side of our brain. I believe that they do not have a split, the hairy man, and they are able to work with their entire brain. I think the split happened when we decided to leave the woods and they decided to stay. Just a working theory, but they can work with more of their brain, thus making them interdimensional. They can travel, they can feel things that we can't, on an energetic and a frequency level, stuff that we as the human creature cannot without training.
Mhm.
So, when people get afraid in the woods, maybe they're getting a little too close to the hairy man. And so, they can put a vibe out to make you feel nervous and
Mhm.
and push you out of that area. and it's recorded in several animals that they can make you feel nervous. So why,
Yep.
why wouldn't,
Infrasound.
yeah, infrasound.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't they be able to use it, especially with their chest capacity and probably their lung capacity? They can get lower, and they can send out those vibes. Hey, you need to go away. And it scares people, but what would scare you worse? Getting the vibe to move away, or having this huge creature that could rip you apart show up?
Right.
So they're trying to help you by saying you're a little too close to us. We don't want you here. It's my
Right.
opinion.
Right. I had that
I
experience
dig it.
as a teenager where I was walking in the woods. It was the woods near my house. I was very comfortable there. And the sun, it was starting to get dark out. And then I just had this sudden urge to just book it for home. Just hightail it, get out of there. And interestingly enough, I believe that was my Sasquatch guide that was getting me out of there, because the next day, one of the neighbors had shot it was, I think, a mountain lion or look at whatever kind of cats we have in northern Wisconsin. Is that a mountain lion?
Mountain lion,
Yeah.
Yep.
mountain
Yeah.
lions, yeah.
Yeah. But apparently my Bigfoot guide saw it stalking me or something and hightailed me for home before it could get to me. So I've always felt protected by that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy on how a lot of people, yeah, they make it out to be. I mean, if they were real, that there's something bad, and
Hmm.
such. But all depends on how they've been treated, you know, on whether they want people near them, they don't want people near them. Um, and I mean, you go back in history, there's been some accounts. I don't know if it was Leif Erikson or what about some people coming around and said that they've seen giant, hairy, like humanoids people on the North American shorelines and such. And some were very aggressive and didn't want them to put, come up on the boat docking or to dock their boats or whatever. Um, I really believe on, like with our last discussion, about like with Star Nation and people, that there's also a big effort to hide the fact that there's such a being out there.
Yep.
And it's something even more so that it's just another undiscovered, creature or animal. I think it's something so profound that it must be kept secret, like as if something being an interdimensional being, you
Hmm.
know. And if you guys remember that, what was it, like 10, 13 years ago, the news all over the television, these hunters shot a Bigfoot and they've got it frozen, in
Oh
a,
yeah. Yep.
and they're gonna, wait for a couple days and they're gonna bring the news crews and everything and stuff, and turned out to be a hoax, they said. And I'm looking at it, I was like, I wonder, was it really a hoax?
Right.
What, just three
Exactly.
days? And I started looking at the pictures on like the first ones when it was mainly ice and everything, on the face of the creature and the tongue sticking out, and the shape of the, well, one, like the water ice that was in it, the water, it looked black, almost like it was blackened out on purpose, with digitally, and the outline of the freezer, and then when they showed the picture later of, the costume in a freezer and whatever, the face looked different, the water looked different. I think you could actually see through the water, and the actual very shape of the inside of the freezer is different. Like
Okay.
that's when it was a telltale sign. I was like, that's not the same freezer, that
Yep.
they took the first picture in, whatever this other one was in. So sometime within these 3 days, these guys had a whole big change of heart and said, no, 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 we were just kidding, kind of thing. When you look at them and you're watching the initial news and stuff, it looked like they were telling the truth. This is what happened, and then one of them was a police officer. You'd think he would know better than to create some national wide, you know, party joke or something on everybody, and they were serious, but then at the end, something happened within them 3 days. Whatever, was in there in that freezer in the first place, it wasn't the same one as the second freezer. There wasn't any of that blacked out water, and that them freezers are, I mean, if you even look them up, find them pictures today, them freezers are different. There's not the same freezer. So in my opinion, this was a cover up somehow, you know, and you've heard these cover-ups before. I think it was like
Yeah.
back in the 1800s, these people were going along these were riding on the train, and they saw like a young Sasquatch that they captured, and they kept, and they had it in like a cage or something, but after a few nights, somebody came along and either took it or just let it go. It was gone. They, before they could really get anybody to come with picture to actual cameras at that time to document it or anything. It just disappeared.
Well, we've
You
been
know,
talking about them being interdimensional.
the
Couldn't they have
interdimensional,
just disappeared
you know,
themselves?
and that could be, I think so. But with the first story, with the hunters that actually supposedly killed one, and I don't know if it maybe could be true, whatever, but it was a lot went into whatever the story was,
Hmm.
because in looking at them pictures, it's not the same freezer. The first and one of them, had blackened out. The water's black. It was like purposely colored out digitally for whatever reason you know
Interesting.
and even just the very shape of the face is different than the shape of the one that they had when they
Hmm.
thawed it out or whatever you know so there's a big cover up, I believe, and that's why you probably never hear, hey, we finally caught Bigfoot. I don't think you ever will.
Hmm.
One, because they are interdimensional beings, and whatever the truth of what they are, if they're, people might know the truth, it's something so profound and beyond that, it goes against the scope of, human understanding of what's tangible and intangible. You know, it would be one thing to say, oh yeah, you could discover a new species of animal. That would be fine, but if you say, oh well, we've discovered an interdimensional being, people are going to lose their shit. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, right. Well,
Yeah.
and there's also that story that's told from the group of firefighters when Mount St. Helens erupted, that
Mm.
they were in there trying to put the fire out, in the forest, and they were approached by like a couple of families of Sasquatches that were on fire. Um,
Hmm.
and supposedly they lived inside Mount St. Helens. I don't know if they could phase through and get in or what, but that's where a large group was living. And apparently these Sasquatch went directly towards the firefighters to get help. And you can still look up the story to this day, and I doubt that these guys would be lying. I mean, my God, they're firefighters. You know,
No.
I've got
how?
goosebumps.
Yeah, but and apparently a bunch perished. A bunch of the Sasquatch perished in Mount St. Helens. Some of them actually came out to get help. So, that would be a good story. Especially if any of the viewers are interested. Research. The stories are out there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and I like the interdimensional part because it kind of goes hand in hand. Well, like we're saying with these orbs we see, sometimes see them at night. I've seen them in the daytime, bright as the sun. Very very. About the size of a basketball or so.
Hmm.
Very very bright and intelligence. There's an intelligence there. We actually, and I don't know if this story has anything to do with Sasquatch or anything, but since with the stories we're sharing here and talking about how they come to ceremony and such, I remember we had a ceremony, sweat lodge we were doing, and on the outside of the sweat lodge we had like this big longhouse frame built with like plastic covering, so we keep the snow and the rain off, so we didn't have to go out there and shovel in the middle of winter and such. But it was winter time, and this is usually when I see these orbs, and although us in the lodge didn't see it, the firekeeper told us that there was a floating orb came out of the wood line, went down along the long side of the lodge, entered the back of the lodge, and went into the sweat lodge. And I remember in the sweat lodge, I had something come over me, and I asked, our water pourer, if I get out, it's like I just feel, my hands started to cramp up, and I started feeling really strange. And he's like, okay. And so he opens the door and I crawl out and I have to like push my hands into the ground to get them to stop cramping. And then I just start making this. As I say, I don't know if this is part, has any correlation, but I'm making this noise like,
Yep.
like this grunting, like, and in my mind, I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? I feel okay, but something's happening here, and I'm really putting my hands into the earth, and I've got this, it's just this energy, and that and then this animal like growling, grunting kind of thing. And the firekeeper's mom, she come in to, check on us, and she sees what's going on. She's like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And our water pourer is like, "He'll be all right. He'll be fine." Calm
Yep.
thing, he'll be all right, But and I wonder myself if that's part of that medicine. It's strange that we have so many people here in this group here who have Bigfoot Sasquatch medicine. That might have been something I had been touched at the time and had my experience out in the woods not too longer after that, but that they
Pills.
can travel in orbs of light, especially in
That's really interesting. I hadn't put it together until you said that, and all of a sudden this light went on in my head when I went on my first vision quest, and I was out there by myself, and I found myself making that exact noise. And my voice doesn't tend to go quite that deep, but it was coming out just like that. That was
Yeah.
really interesting. And I wonder because, again, I was out in the woods, I was by myself, I was there for 4 days. Was that like the Sasquatch working through me to scare away other animals that might have come? Because by day 3, no food, you're getting a little more weak. That could
Yeah.
open you up for predators, right? So I'm wondering if maybe that was it. It was very profound for me. I mean, I hadn't put
Yeah.
together though that that's what it could have been until you said that.
Yeah, because it happened, but in my conscious mind, I'm thinking, I feel fine. Why is my
Yeah.
body doing this?
Yeah, why
Yeah.
is my body doing this? Like, and I was like hunched and kind of felt like I was getting bigger, So,
Yeah.
and I'm 5'4". For me to feel bigger, that's a thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That was kind of a word I was feeling like I didn't say, but I'm on the ground and just this energy is like a hulking type of mass,
Yeah.
type of
Yes.
Yep.
power energy, and so like I'm having like an epiphany like right here and
Me
now. Wonder
too.
if I have Bigfoot medicine. I just didn't realize it all
Yeah,
this time.
same.
I
Yeah.
think you do, Shawn. Sounds like it to
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
He came to you that night.
Right,
I have to
right.
say, I am loving this discussion because anytime, and I watch a lot of documentaries, pretty much that's all I ever watch. And so, like I'm on Amazon Prime or, whatever, YouTube, and I'm watching all these documentaries, and all of them are about fear of a protector. And that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm
Mhm.
loving this discussion where everybody's
Well,
like, oh, yeah,
sometimes the best way to protect an unenlightened human is to scare the shit out of them,
well, there
get
is
them
that.
away from
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, your parents discipline sometimes with fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I like, especially like the less the more they have to go towards fear,
Mm-hmm.
like to scare you from not doing that. Well, why? Who are we to say that the Sasquatch do not have a very similar? You know, I can't talk to this guy because their heart's not right or their spirit's not right, but something really bad's about to happen. So all I can do is scare the shit out of them. You know,
Good point.
by creating the vibration and the infrasound of fear, or by throwing a rock or something.
Yeah.
So I get it. especially when you look at it from that angle. But
Mhm.
they're not out to get you.
No,
No.
I don't think so. If that was the
No.
case, there would be evidence of Bigfoot attacks. There's no
Yeah.
evidence of Bigfoot attacks. And I did want to bring, speaking of evidence, because I had heard on a couple of those documentaries, well, nobody's ever found a skeleton. Well, that's not true. Giant skeletons have been found all over the place. How do we know that's not a Bigfoot skeleton or a Sasquatch skeleton? How do we
Mhm.
know? We don't know. All we know
Mhm.
is that it's a big skeleton,
Yeah.
9, 10 feet
Right.
tall.
And when
Well,
they
you
find
also go ahead, Sean.
them skeletons, they disappear after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They won't let people
Yeah.
come and see them.
Well,
Yeah.
and if you look at all the tribes have stories of fighting giants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That who's to say? Because they were red-headed giants. Well, who's to say that during the fight, like I can't remember the tribe, but they sealed in the giants in a cave and smoked them.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So
I know
who's
what
to,
you're talking about.
yeah? So who's to say that that it is? I lost my train of thought, but give me a second. Who's to say that? Yeah, the skeleton that you find, because the Sasquatch fought alongside the natives to get rid of this evil.
Yep.
Who's to say that they didn't fall in battle in this cave? And so you got a red-headed giant skeleton, and then here's this other 8-9 foot skeleton. What is it? Could very well be.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, another thing when it comes back to not finding skeletons, how many bear skeletons do you find in the wild?
Exactly.
So the whole not finding a skeleton, it not existing, I don't buy into that.
I don't either.
Yeah.
We know bears are out there. We know they live and die.
Right.
So
But
just because you don't
it's-
find it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right.
yeah. And you get some, people say, well, there's not enough food out there to sustain an animal that big. Bull BS. We
Right.
have
Well,
1,800
right.
pound bears in Shawn County.
Yeah.
I mean, and not only like the mass amount of leeks that grow in the springtime, all the cattails can be eating the roots. And parts of it can be food, and there are gajillions of them everywhere. There's enough food there.
And who
And
says that their digestive system is like ours? Maybe they can eat things that we can't eat.
Right.
could be, yeah.
And if they're an omnivore and they eat both, so you got wild animal and you got plenty of vegetation, they'll eat.
And if they're interdimensional and they're very high vibration, they may not need to.
And who's to say that they're not the ones that taught us how to eat and do medicine?
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
We don't know. Exactly.
Right. And there's so many stories and things, that that are so possible. And when it comes, like I said, when my medicine teacher would talk about, I mean, he just taught it like it's nothing. Like, yeah, they come. They come to the ceremony. It's like they're my helpers. They help, and they come, and we have a good time. And he's not a bullshitter.
Right.
He's
Nope.
and it's just like second nature to him. But and the world wants to think different things, and then once you have something like this, and that's what causes so many, especially if the news gets out, and then you got so many people wanting to come and wanting to shoot one, to bring it in as proof and stuff. And that's like when the native elders would say, just leave them alone. They're the most gentle creature of the forest. They help us.
Mhm.
And then it's disrespectful to go out there and try to kill one just to prove that they're alive. And we can tell you don't even want to take our word for it, that we know
Right.
they are. They're there.
What? Wow. Another amazing discussion. I am so loving this. This podcast was a really good idea, Rez.
Hey, you started the idea. We
I
just
thought
ran
you
with it.
started it. But this has been really enlightening. I've really enjoyed this conversation. We're running a little towards the end here. So I know Brandon has to get going, but any last words? before we say goodbye for this episode?
My thing would be for everybody is that the proof doesn't need to be out there. There's a lot of verifiable people who are telling the truth. You don't need to find a body, especially as something as an interdimensional being. If you can't grasp that concept, then it's understandable you can't grasp the concept of big feet people,
Yes.
you know, and such. But once that becomes a reality, and you can actually see, and those of us who've been in the forest, sit there
Mhm.
and take notice rather than just, walking through and having your own thing in your own mind. Those will actually sit there and listen, will watch, we see these things, they're real, they're very real, and we don't need to kill them. We don't need to do anything. They're there for a purpose. Okay. And it's not to harm anybody. So,
Excellent.
you know.
Brandon,
Yeah,
any last word? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rez.
go ahead, Brandon.
Nope. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Rez.
yeah, Raz, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, anyone out there that's going out into these woods looking, go out with the pure heart. Don't go out there and wanting to take a body for evidence. Just go out there and open your mind up and ask for that interaction, that communication. Give honor and respect to the woods and to everyone there. And who knows, maybe you'll have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll leave it with there's plenty of stories on every res or every nation uh, of the existence of these magnificent creatures. Uh, there's a reason why if you come on the res, we won't let you go back there. We're not protecting the Sasquatch. We're protecting you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put very kindly. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, thanks, guys, so much. This has been really enlightening. It's been a great conversation. And I look forward to actually having both of you back on to talk about other things because this is
Anytime.
just fabulous.
Anytime. As long as
Oh,
I
yes.
remember.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon, if that's the case, I'm gonna have to hold you hostage when we come down there for the Paracon.
Oh,
You
yeah.
won't be able to forget it then.
Hey, I'm good with it. I'm 100% good with it, brother.
Cool.
So,
Because we're
do
both
either of
going to
you?
be there. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say, do either one of you have anything going on you want to promote? Any websites or YouTube channels? Any
I guess
events?
I can throw out my podcast real quick. So I do have a podcast called Shaman Sundays. I do it every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can find it on YouTube, Facebook, all of the cool socials. Uh, we have a good time with it. And then I have my Paracon, The Haunting at the Mill. It will be March 22nd, 23rd, 24th next year. And it's a amazing place. We have petroglyphs from 10,000 plus years ago. We have it was in Cherokee Trading Post where we do it. I mean, it's just it, great energy. So tickets are on sale. If you just go to Google the Haunting at the Mill Paracon, the Eventbrite, all that stuff should pop up. That's it for me.
awesome. And you'll be hearing
Shawn?
from me soon.
Awesome. I'm good with it. Oh, and I'm filming some episodes. I really can't say, but I'm doing an episode for an Amazon Prime show that just got picked up. I'll be on season 2. I'll be filming that in November, and I'm filming another show like tonight. So,
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
that's it for me.
All right. How about you, Shawn?
I really don't have anything that I'm promoting. I sit home by my fire and do my thing.
I wish I could
Awesome.
just do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, thank you all so much. And I'm looking forward to having this air. We will let you all know when that's going to happen so you can share it with your people. And with that, signing off, I'm Kristina.
I'm Rez.
I'm Shawn.
I'm confused.
It's all right. Thank you all so much.